Thousands attend the funerals of the youngsters killed in a strike on Israel as diplomats scramble to avert a regional war.
Novak Djokovic has defeated Rafael Nadal in the second round of the 2024 Paris Olympics men's singles at Roland Garros. The match is likely to be the pair's final head-to-head contest after having played against each other 60 times in their careers. Djokovic and Nadal have won 46 Grand Slam singles titles between them, including 17 at the French Open. But while Nadal boasts 2 gold medals, Djokovic has not yet clinched Olympic victory. At least 2 people have been killed and more than 100 injured after a train derailed in Russia's Volgograd region. The train, which was carrying 800 passengers, was travelling from Kazan to Adler when it collided with a cargo truck that had driven onto the tracks despite the approaching train signal, according to Russian railways. Russian investigators have opened a criminal probe into the possible violation of traffic safety rules and the operation of railway transport.
For the second day in a row, the training for the triathlon competition of the Paris Olympics has been postponed because the water quality of the Seine River just behind me is too polluted. The main events, the men's triathlon, is supposed to take place on Tuesday and the women's is supposed to take place the day after on Wednesday. So what happens in case the water quality does not improve? Well, local authorities are insisting that they'll just keep postponing until the Seine becomes less polluted. However, let's say in the extreme case that it doesn't, well then the triathlon will become a duathlon. That means that triathletes will only compete in the cycling and running sections of the competition, so that means no swimming. And as for the marathon swimming events that are scheduled for August 8th and August 9th in the Seine River, well the city does have a plan B in case the water is still too polluted, and that's that the events will take place in a nautical stadium east of Paris, and if necessary the events could also be moved to where the canoeing and rowing competitions are currently being held. Sofia Katzenkova reporting from Paris for Euronews.
From Monday, Belgium will be welcoming 4 children from Gaza for medical treatment. 3 of the young patients, aged between 6 and 10, need treatment for cancer. They are accompanied on their journey by their families. In total, the Belgian authorities are welcoming 12 people as part of this medical evacuation mission, which began thousands of kilometers away.
These patients have been evacuated through PCRF prior to the Rafah closure to Egypt, used it as a central hub, and then pulled from there to Belgium. And obviously, as you can tell, the trip is not easy. These are patients that have lost everything in home. They have lost their homes, they have lost loved ones, and so we had to make sure that they've already been displaced once, that they feel comfortable as we're taking them to another location.
While Belgium is treating these children, the transport was carried out by a Slovakian medical aircraft. This is the second mission of its kind undertaken by the European Union, the World Health Organization, Egypt and the NGO. A few days ago, Spain welcomed 16 young patients, again accompanied by family members.
Each country, again, picks based off the criteria that they believe is best for the way that they can help those patients. And so Spain has had patients that had orthopedic problems, chronic conditions, cardiac problems. Belgium's focus was primarily more onto the oncology-like patients.
These patients will remain in Europe for the duration of their treatment and until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. Experts remain hopeful that other European Union countries will open their doors to children in need.
In a star-studded Sunday, Rafa Nadal reached the second round of the men's singles to set up a thriller match against Novak Djokovic. In basketball, LeBron James returned to the Olympics after 12 years to help beat Serbia by 34 points in the Americans' opening game. France kept racking up golds as Pauline Ferrand-Prévot finished first in mountain bike racing after more than a decade of trying. And Léon Marchand won the men's 400-meter individual medley in swimming. Japan celebrated twice thanks to gold medal wins in judo and women's skateboarding. Sunday's victories sent Japan top of the gold medal table on level terms with Australia. Meanwhile, concerns remain over the Seine water quality. Tuesday's triathlon competitions could be postponed, but organizers remain optimistic.
Thousands of mourners have attended the funerals for 11 of the 12 youngsters killed in a rocket strike from Lebanon that struck a football field in the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights on Saturday. The Israeli military said the attack was the deadliest on civilians in Israel since the war with Hamas started last October. Israel said its intelligence showed that the Lebanese group Hezbollah was responsible for the strike and promised a retaliation.
Hezbollah שליחה של איראן באזור. חיזבאללה לא ינקה מהאירוע הזה, גם בהכחשות המגוחכות שלו. הוא ירה את הירי, הוא יישא במחיר, והוא ישלם מחיר כבד על פעולותיו.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cut short a trip to the United States to return to Israel to chair an emergency security cabinet meeting. It authorized Netanyahu's government to decide on the manner and timing of the response. Hezbollah rushed to deny any involvement in Saturday's strike, which has raised fears of starting a broader regional war in the Middle East. Speaking in Tokyo, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there was no justification for terrorism but cautioned against escalation.
We also don't want to see the conflict escalate. We don't want to see it spread. That has been one of our goals from day one, from October 7th on, and we'll continue to do that.
And Lebanon's Foreign Minister Abdallah Abu Habib said on Sunday that the government had asked Washington to urge restraint from Israel in a bid to calm the situation. Hezbollah began firing rockets at Israel the day after the Hamas incursion into Israel on October the 7th, it says in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon have killed more than 500 people, mostly Hezbollah members, but also around 90 civilians. On the Israeli side, 22 soldiers and 24 civilians have been killed.
Thousands of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians gathered in Kyiv to commemorate the second anniversary of an explosion that killed more than 50 Ukrainians detained by Russia in the Olenivka prison barracks. Speakers at the ceremony urged the Ukrainian government to work harder to get soldiers freed in prisoner exchanges. The Olenivka explosion was one of the most painful pages in the history of Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, according to many soldiers. Russia claimed the explosion was caused by Kyiv's forces firing a missile, but increasing evidence instead suggests that Russia was responsible for setting off the blast. 2 years after, many Ukrainians still want to know exactly how it happened. The event in the center of Kyiv drew together many families, including the mothers, wives and children of soldiers who were killed in the blast or of those who are currently imprisoned by Russia. Hundreds of dancers from 9 countries attended the International Folklore Festival in Romania. Mexican guitars, Greek flutes, Czech violins and Romanian shouts could be heard at the opening of the 12th edition of the country's International Folklore Festival. 9 countries sent performers to represent them at the festival. Most of the 300 dancers who were sent to show their talent and passion for folklore at the festival were in Romania for the first time. Residents of the town where the festival is held look forward to it every year, especially because the talent changes each time the festival happens. After a weekend full of music and dances from performers gathered from around the world, the festival ended with a laureates gala. Bomb shelters on the beach is what a holiday in Odessa, Ukraine looks like. Authorities intend to grant permits for around 20 Ukrainian beaches to open this year, subject to the fulfillment of strict security conditions. While people shouldn't use the beaches for recreation according to the authorities, it still doesn't prevent people from relaxing on the beach. The Ukrainian tourism sector was devastated by Russia's invasion, and many hotels still can't legally open due to bans, which can be financially crippling.
At least 12 people have been killed after a mudslide hit a house in southeastern China as heavy rains continue in the aftermath of Typhoon Gemi. The deaths are the first reported in China after the typhoon made landfall on Thursday and was downgraded to a tropical storm. Before reaching China, the typhoon intensified monsoon rains in the Philippines, leaving at least 34 dead. It then barreled across Taiwan, where authorities said on Saturday that the death toll had risen to 10. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo has arrived in the country's new capital, Nusantara, to start work in his new office. Construction of the city began in 2022 after Widodo announced that Jakarta would no longer have capital status. The metropolis suffers from pollution and congestion, is prone to earthquakes, and is rapidly sinking. But the Nusantara project has been criticized by environmentalists who say it degrades the environment.